We will be visiting with Steve Kerr here on the show. Stephen Curry, Jordan Poole will be here as well. But right now, we welcome in Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A., you and I are texting back and forth throughout this game. And I know Steph went to that ring early, right? And then he gave him the night-night. And you didn't hate it, and I didn't either. But I feel that we've seen a more outwardly demonstrative Steph throughout these playoffs, like a different version of him. I just wonder what you made of that.
Well, what I made of it, Scott, is that he's arrived and he's known it. I mean, he's a three-time champion, but the first go-round, you go up against LeBron, there's no Kyrie, there's no Kevin Love, and you're a young pup. Right. You lose the next year. Then after that, you get KD, who I consider to be, when healthy, the greatest player in the world. And you win back-to-back championships, and you would have three-peated had he not gotten injured and Klay Thompson had not gone down in the third quarter of that game when he had 30 in that closeout Game 6 against Toronto, as far as I'm concerned. This particular year, this particular postseason, it was clearly Steph's team, not just in terms of affection, and the love affair that he has with the Warriors and the Bay Area audience, but the fact that he was clearly the best player on this team and was playing like it. And then when the finals arrived, he just took it to another level. He walked into Game 5 of this series, averaging 34 on 50% shooting from the field and 49% shooting from three-point range, with numerous daggers that he had distributed throughout the postseason. So I just think that you see a guy 34 years of age in the league all of these years, a three-time champion at the time, two-time league MVP, and he was putting his stamp on these playoffs, letting everybody know he's the best shooter in the world, he's one of the best players in the world, and he's about to be a champion again. And you just saw it in his eyes throughout this postseason, and he finished the goods tonight.
And Stephen A., we know how the world works, right? The chatter is hard to escape, and it can bleed into your life if you let it. And we heard Steph in the locker room screaming, what are they going to say now, right? Stephen saying, what are they going to say now? So with the MVP now on the trophy case, the one thing that was lacking, what are they going to say now about Curry?
Well, I think first of all, you could have called him one of the greatest players this game has ever seen before this finals appearance. But at the end of the day, it cemented it. Let's understand this. This is the greatest shooter God has ever created. We have never seen a shooter the likes of Steph Curry in the history of the game of basketball. We know about the ball handling skills, but then he bulked up a little bit. You could see some definition in his body. He wasn't afraid or reluctant to go to the hole. He did that with ease throughout the season and did it 4 times in the fourth quarter tonight when he was called upon to do so because bigger and taller dudes were contesting him outside at the three-point line. He's just an individual that on the offensive side of the ball is capable of doing whatever it takes. You literally have to guard him the second he steps past half court. And as a result, that forces defenses to extend. It opens up lanes for his teammates throughout the court, and that makes it hell for opposing defenses. And then on the defensive side of the ball, tonight he's guarding dudes, and they shot like 3 for 12 against them with 6 turnovers. And so when you look at it from that perspective, they couldn't even exploit him defensively because the once defensive deficiency that he glaringly exhibited that forced Steve Kerr to try and hide him, he didn't have to do it this series, and he didn't even try. And so when you take all of those things into consideration, you got to look at him as arguably a top 10 player in the history of basketball. He's just that lethal. He's just that impactful.
Look, we agree he's the greatest shooter God ever lived, but Stephen A., I've never seen him in a suit, in a proper suit, hitting jumpers. We've seen the video of you, so until he's able to bury jumpers in a beautiful suit, I don't know. You're right there. You're right there on point with him, Stephen A. I appreciate your time. I know it's late and you've been up all day. This means we're done talking during the finals, but I enjoy it as always, and I appreciate you making time for me here on the show. All right.
I appreciate it, but just for the record, you can strip 30 years, you can add 30 years back into my life, make me 30 years younger, bulk me up about 50 pounds or whatever, and give me a game, and I still could have shined Steph Curry's shoes. I know my place, my brother. I know my place.
I understand. Look, I understand, but you and I both found something that we could do once we were on the other side of 50, and I know we're both grateful for that, right?
Yes, sir, without question. Thanks
Stephen
a lot,
A. Smith, we appreciate you. And we will continue here. with our coverage of the Warriors championship. Steve Kerr will be on his way to visit with us, Stephen Curry and Jordan Poole as well. Hope that they're not celebrating too much. You just never know who you're going to get.
Before, and so that was part of the message. Let it propel us forward. The experience and growth and progress that we made this season. Obviously, getting to your ultimate goal and falling a few games short is going to hurt, and there are a lot of guys in there very emotional right now. So the message was, we thank them for the effort and the growth and everything they allowed us to do coaching-wise this year. And the biggest message was learn from this, grow from it, take this experience and see there is another level to get to with a team like Golden State who has been there, done that, and it was evident in a lot of ways. And just don't come back the same as players, coaching staff, and let this fuel you throughout the offseason the next year.
On your right, Mark.
Hey, Manny. You talk about things you're going to learn from. Obviously, one of them is turnovers and taking care of the ball. What did Golden State figure out about you guys that they were just able to do so consistently in that way?
Well, they did what they did, and rotation-wise, they are very consistent with where they're at and don't make a lot of mistakes. And so I'm sure as our turnovers piled up throughout the series, and you could look across the playoffs, it was an area of emphasis. You can pretty much look at the box score and see if we won or lost based on a few things. And so them being consistent and more so, I'm sure in their locker room they're saying, be solid, and get in your spots, and they'll give it to you in some sense. And so our thing, as we had guys growing and learning to be playmakers and look for their own scoring, that's the next phase of it, is seeing different defenses and being solid against that. And, once again, you look at the numbers, and they got 103 on the night. We give them 20-plus off turnovers and 20-plus off second chance points, and don't really give ourselves a chance as far as that. So, they're a solid team. That's a championship team that's been there, obviously, I think 6 out of 8 years, and you can see the consistency on that side and what they did with us, turning us over.
Follow up on Mark on the right.
What, looking to the summer, Rob obviously has to take care of his knee. What kind of a program are you guys laying out for him?
Strengthen his body. That's the main thing in general. And then we said it coming into the season. He had his highest minutes per game this year. We wanted him to be able to play longer stretches. And I think he achieved a lot of things and had a lot of growth on the court. But a big part is taking care of your body and staying available. And so obviously have to strengthen up his legs and build all the muscle around it to protect his knees. But what I did tell him also was credit for playing through what he did and giving it a go and being out there for us. But now it's time to rest up, heal up, and get ready for next season and come back in better shape and stronger than you were this year coming into the season.
Adam in the middle.
Yeah, you mentioned learning from it and growing from it. What do you want Jason in particular to take from this experience? And this series in particular was obviously challenging for him at times and frustrating for him at times. What do you want to see him pull away from it and carry into next year?
Yeah, learn and understand who he is in this league. You're all-star, all-NBA first-team guy for a reason, and this is only the start of how you're going to be guarded and the attention you're going to draw. And so one thing that he's always done throughout the season was seen multiple different coverages and figured it out, and he did that throughout the first few series, and this one was a rough one. Very consistent team that did some things to limit him and make others pay. And so from him, it's just continue to grow and understand that you're going to see this rest of your career. And this is just a start. But the growth that he showed as a playmaker this year and in certain areas, I think this is the next step for him, figuring that out and, getting to where some of the veterans are that have seen everything and took their lumps early in their careers. And like I said, a very motivated guy that works extremely hard and high IQ, intelligent guy that will learn from this and figure it out. And I think it will propel him to go forward, definitely motivate him.
Coach Udoka mentioned a tough one for Tatum. 6 of 18, 13 points, 5 turnovers. Boston had 23 turnovers in this game, 22 individual, 1 team turnover, which ties the second most turnovers by any team in a finals game in the last quarter century. The most for the Celtics in a finals game since the bicentennial year of 1976. Golden State continues to celebrate. We will visit with Doris Burke. We will visit with Stephen A. Smith, and we'll talk to some Warriors, hopefully. Steve Kerr, hopefully. Somebody between now